From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
Kent's Meats and Grocery is much more than a grocery store. We carry a full line of quality meats, local and organic vegetables, and a large variety of fish, Green Mountain Smart Control pellet grills, and a full deli case of sandwiches and side dishes.
Well, starting tomorrow, we're going to see a series of storms heading our way. We're going to be rain, we're looking at snow, we're looking at gusty winds. And one of the great ways to stay ahead of the storm is with the free Weather NorCal app. Go to your iPhone, go to the App Store, and search for Weather NorCal, and tap, of course, install. Download the app for free. Now on your Android, go to the Google Play Store, do the same. Search for Weather NorCal and download the app for free. Now, one of the things you can also do, not only track the storm and stay ahead of the storm, but you can also share your storm photos. So if you have any kind of storm damage, or if there's snow, if there's some localized flooding in your area, if there's a rainbow, if there is a cute thing that your dog does, share your photos. You can do that free from the app. It's so much fun, and I'll share those photos on Coffee with Kruger every weekday morning at 6:30. And of course, I can also share some of these photos during these regular weather updates as well. So be sure to check that out. All right, here's a look at your weather headlines. We have got the wet weather returning tomorrow. You're going to notice it. Everyone's going to get wet. We're also looking at some gusty winds out there, 30 to even 40 miles per hour. And those snow levels starting off low on Wednesday, really starting off fairly high, around 4,000 feet. They could drop down to about 3,000 feet locally on Thursday. But then we'll see them go back up by the weekend, which we'll get into that here a little bit later. And then we got off and on rain really through early next week. Now this is good. You want it to come, then you want it to go, then you want it to come back, then you want it to go, right? You get the idea. We don't want it all coming at once. Now that doesn't mean we won't see any localized flooding, because we are looking at heavy rainfall during these storm systems. That's going to really saturate the ground. So even though we'll get some relief, the ground will still be saturated. So when the next round of rain comes in, we'll be looking at more runoff than we would, say, if the ground was not as saturated, right? So we look at our North Coast forecast. By the way, yeah, maybe an isolated thunderstorm as we go into early tomorrow morning. And of course, the inland areas, showers, and we're looking at that rain, even for Trinity County. We're looking at the rain for pretty much everyone else as well. Now, I think it'll start for the North Coast first, and then eventually making its way into the Valley, Siskiyou County, Modoc County, and the Eastern Mountains. Now, let's talk about the timing of all of this, and here you go. We're going to take you into about midnight tonight. So as I mentioned, snow levels around 4,000 feet, give or take. Now, you'll notice that first little band of rain, yeah, there's going to be some showers in there and some moderate rain as well, but you'll notice it's just not very heavy. Still dry for the most part in the valley, not to mention east. But as we go into the early morning hours, everyone's eventually going to start to see at least the first push of showers. This is what we call warm front showers, and they're typically not very heavy. It's the main cold front right here that's going to have the heavier rainfall associated with it, and not to mention the gusty winds, which we'll take a look at that here in a second. But we're still seeing some snow, not terribly heavy, but we may start to see by 8 o'clock in the morning some chain requirements east of I-5. But I think it's all going to be in the form of rain on I-5, even around Mount Shasta City, and not to mention on Highway 299, but Scott Mountain on Highway 3, tomorrow morning, probably looking at some snow. Now that rain gets heavier as we go through the morning hours in the valley. The winds begin to pick up as well for the valley too. As I mentioned, gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour. Now as that main band pushes through to the east, there's going to be another band that will develop here for the coast as we go into this evening. Looks pretty heavy. Could see an isolated thunderstorm there. Snow levels may start to drop as we go into Wednesday night and into your Thursday. But another thing is, we're not going to see as much widespread precipitation on Thursday, as now the main storm system will have passed, but now we're going to be dealing with on Thursday the cold and unstable air. And when you have the cold and unstable air and moisture still in place, you're going to see snow flurries. You're going to see showers out there. But it looks like most of them are going to be up to the north here, as you can see, to the north and west through the day on Thursday. Now again, I've got those snow levels 3,000 to 3,500 feet. So to see snowflakes on I-5 near Mount Shasta City is not out of the question. But I don't think it's going to be heavy enough that there'll be chain requirements. And maybe even Buckhorn Summit for a brief period of time on Thursday. But once again, I don't anticipate there to be any major problems when it comes to travel. Okay, then we go into Thursday night. It's really beginning to wrap itself up, and I'm expecting that by Friday, we'll actually get that break that first break from the wet weather I was talking about. So going through Thursday night, I'm expecting a half of an inch or more for many of us in the valley. But look at the coast. I do expect to see an inch or more there. So that's pretty typical footprint. Heavier rainfall for the coast, you start seeing less in the valley, and of course, less off to the north and east. There is a winter weather advisory for the areas in purple in northern Trinity County, eastern Siskiyou County, and not to mention out towards Modoc County. And that's mainly for your Wednesday. Now, I talked about those storm impacts as far as travel is concerned. Look at I-5. We're not really seeing much in the way of snow there, so I don't anticipate there to be problems if you do need to travel. I'd say the only concern for Wednesday is not necessarily the snow, but the heavy rainfall at times and those gusty winds. However, you head east of I-5, now you're going to be dealing with the potential for some of the higher mountain passes. Say above 4,000 feet, you may run into some problems with chain requirements there. But as we go on Highway 299, I don't anticipate any major problems. But north of that on Highway 3, there it is. You see the orange there for Scott Mountain? That's indicating a moderate impact with that storm. So we're going to have to be on the lookout for that. Bottom line, traveling on Wednesday, especially east of I-5, keep a close eye on those road conditions. You might want to just double check if you're heading north on I-5 because you never know. Sometimes you can get that short little burst of colder air to move through and you see that snow and suddenly all bets are off. But I'd be willing to guess that you're going to be okay on Wednesday. Again, it's just the wet weather and those gusty winds. Looking at the snow, we could see some light accumulation around Chester. That's at 4,500 feet. But you head out towards Mount Shasta City, about 3,500 feet. At best, I think you'll see a bit of a mix. I think that's the case also for Bernie, Shingletown, but Viola, maybe some light accumulation there. All in the form of rain for Weaverville and Hayfork at this point. Let's take a look at the ski park, and yeah, we do have those, looks like probably over a foot of snow is a very good possibility here for Wednesday, and then of course much less on Thursday, but we could tack a little bit more on that for your Thursday as well. Let's talk about the atmospheric river scale. The storms that are going to be moving through, the associated atmospheric rivers are basically going to be between the category 1 and 2. I don't anticipate it to get much higher than that. Now, taking a look at what we've got here, what these are, these little peaks and valleys, this is where the atmospheric river is. This is the main storm system. This is when we see a break. This is when we see the next storm system. This is when we see a break. This is when we see our next storm system. You get the picture here. We're not looking at a prolonged period of an atmospheric river over us. You see, those are the ones that we really need to pay attention to. Because when you have a prolonged period, say 3, 4, 5 days, of just that steady flow of moisture right over the area, that's when we start running into major flooding issues. That's not what we're dealing with here. So again, these are some minor atmospheric river impacts. The main impact will be some minor flooding as we start to see some of the rainfall really begin to saturate the ground, and not to mention some of the gusty winds at times as well. So there's Wednesday. See that weak atmospheric river right there, okay? Now we're going to take you into your Thursday and Friday. Now, Thursday, still some leftover rain, but Friday, dry. This is what's moving in for your Saturday. That's that next peak I was showing you on that graph here. The next peak will be on Monday. Okay, there's Sunday, a bit of a break. And then there's that next peak on Monday. So the main atmospheric river is pointing to Southern California on Monday, but we're taking this storm system and it's tapping into that moisture. And that low pressure system is actually expected to kind of stick around even on Tuesday, could still bring us a chance for some more wet weather on Tuesday. So looking at it in the form of rain and how that's all going to really kind of spell out here, now we're going to take you into your Friday, still fairly dry. Now Saturday, there it is. There's the next round of rain. Snow levels at this point about 5,000 feet. Sunday, this low pressure system is too far to our south, so we'll be dry, it looks like, on Sunday. Then on Monday, it moves closer, so it's going to really kind of wrap around that area of low pressure, that moisture. That's going to continue on Tuesday as well, giving us more rain. Now, I do anticipate some slightly cooler air to maybe move in by around Monday, Tuesday. That could be some slightly lower snow levels, but that's still a ways out. Let's get into the forecast rain totals. Now, this may be overdoing it, but looking even at the European forecast model run, not too far from this. I think, on average, about 3 to 4 inches of rain is a very good possibility here through next Tuesday for the valley. It could be a little bit more than that, and not to mention especially out along the coast as well. Now, where are we seeing that less rainfall? Pretty standard, pretty typical, off into Modoc and Lassen counties, and even it looks like Siskiyou County not seeing a ton either. Now, we take a look at the wave heights, and as the storm system approaches tomorrow, we are looking at those wave heights increasing. So it's not a good idea to be out on that small boat. As we go into Wednesday night and Thursday, we still see those wave heights still fairly high, around 10 feet. So your marine forecast for your Wednesday, south winds at 15 to 25 knots. Pretty strong winds there. Southwest winds at 7 feet at 7 seconds, and from the west at 4 feet at 12 seconds. Your high and your low tide, your sunrise, your sunset, and there is that small craft advisory. Okay, so we do have, of course, the high seas. It's just not a good idea to be out on those small boats. Temperatures are going to be in the mid-40s tonight. So with the cloud cover, still another mild night for the valley. Still quite chilly for some of the higher elevations, but mainly in the upper 20s and low 30s there. Upper 30s, Trinity County, mid to upper 40s for the inland areas, and mid to upper 40s out along the coast. So let's take a look at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. There you can see, of course, temperatures in the mid to upper 40s. We've got that break on Friday, another break on Sunday, more wet weather going into Monday and Tuesday. I've dropped the snow levels on Tuesday, but we'll see if that actually kind of comes into play here. But looks like mainly around 5,000 feet as we go into your Saturday and quite possibly early next week. 55 out in Fortuna, 55 degrees for Blue Lake. We take you up north, 55 for Smith River, 55 in Trinidad and Hoopa, a high of about 53 degrees. Here's your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast. Looks like those temperatures around 47 degrees for Gazelle, 48 degrees out in Happy Camp, and in Modoc County, low to mid 40s. Looks like Eagleville about 45, Altura is 44, and Tule Lake about 44 degrees as well. Your Eastern Mountains neighborhood forecast, those temperatures in the mid 40s. Snow levels 3,000 to 4,000 feet Wednesday, Thursday. And you can see they're going to be about 5,000 feet Saturday. Now again, as I mentioned, I dropped it to 3,000 feet on Tuesday. I may be adjusting that here by tomorrow, but overall, you get the idea. Snow levels won't be terribly low. We take a look at our Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by Haas Farms, and you've got those temperatures in the mid 50s. It will be cooler tomorrow because we're not going to see much in the way of sunshine at all. It'll just be kind of a windy and wet day. Not a windy day, but a windy and wet day. 51 degrees for the city of Shasta Lake, 49 in Shingletown, 53 degrees out in Anderson, and 54 for Red Bluff. Here's your 7-day outlook. So for your Valentine's Day, it's going to be a wet and windy day. Showers on Thursday continue, but it won't be as heavy and it won't be as widespread. There's that break on Friday, so the first break. Now we see our next round of rain on Saturday. Will be heavy at times, could be windy as well. Sunday, that's our next break. But then we've got more rain for your President's Day. And then not to mention going into Tuesday of next week.